Hi there, my name's Eric Meeks. I'm with Indian Wells Escrow, and we've got.
My name is Vincent Granados. I'm also with Indian Wells Escrow, and
And what are we going to talk about today?
today we're going to talk a little bit about Coachella Valley, Supervillain Lairs. I know you've all been waiting for it.
I, I think that's a great subject to talk about. Okay, so I've got a couple of properties in my head
Okay.
that if I was a supervillain that I would want to use.
Okay.
How about you? Do you have any?
I have not specific properties. I have locations in my head, like that. Maybe they can be bought up. They can be bought up, but not. I haven't got a single house in mind yet.
Okay, well, when you say location, what do you mean?
I'm talking like an abandoned mall or like a location of an office building that I've seen. Well, I'm like, there's definitely something evil going on in there.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that I want to weigh in on in the discussion because to me, a good supervillain lair or even a superhero lair, like
Hmm.
say the Batcave,
Yeah.
one of the advantages has to it is that first of all, it's a little secretive,
Yeah.
but secondly, there are multiple entry and exit points for it.
Hmm.
Like the Batcave, there is definitely a road because you can
Yeah.
drive the Bat car in, and that road is hidden. Although I would bet that road, once you go from the road off of Wayne Manor to whatever is
Uh-huh.
the main thoroughfare, you could go right and left, and hopefully there's
Yeah.
multiple other junctures not far away because otherwise all somebody would have to do is start tracking where you drove
Hmm.
to and they'd know where
And
your lair is.
yeah.
Batcave also has a river and a lake
Yeah.
nearby, and it does go within at least a fairly short distance to the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then it's got a heliport.
Yep.
And even in that lake, it's got a place where the bat plane can lower itself down into
Hmm.
the water,
Yep.
right? And it's got secret places for that. Hard to find all of that in a desert
Y-
location.
Yes. I don't know if you, speaking of the back, it's a funny clip I've seen. Have you seen Family Guy?
Oh, sure.
There's a bit with Stewie where he figures out who Batman is, and they're like, Batman's like, "How'd you figure it out?" And he's like, "The workers. You built all this,"
Yeah.
and and they were just like, "Oh yeah, I built a thing under Bruce Wayne's house."
He used union
Yeah.
contractors and he just asked them. Yeah. Well, I mean, Bruce Wayne does generally abide by the law when it comes to labor rules.
Mhm.
That there. Yeah, well, and like the Joker, to talk about
Yeah.
for a villain, he's usually just in warehouses.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
something like that. It's not
Hmm.
like he's got a huge spectacular estate that he's working from,
Hmm.
as opposed to Lex Luthor.
Yeah. He's always in a high rise
Exactly.
somewhere.
Yes.
Yep.
Like the last Superman movie, actually had two high rises and then had his own like
I think
headquarters between them.
I think in the desert, if he were to be here, he would build a house right at the top of the tram.
The tram is one of my locations for a very good kind of a villain layer.
Yeah.
But it would be they'd have to take over the tram and okay, but it's definitely a place that's
Hmm.
hard to get to.
Yep.
Okay, with that
Definitely.
there, and it would be at least at the bottom station in my mind would be kind of easy to defend.
Yeah, because they gotta climb up and you get the high ground.
Right, exactly. You would always have that high ground. And by the way, a separate discussion at some time. To me, the tram was always one of my family's rendezvous points
Mm.
if a zombie apocalypse ever happened. Because my logic is basically zombies can't run uphill.
Yeah, that's valid. That's a good point. That maybe that'll be our next discussion. Coachella Valley, zombie apocalypse
Where would
location.
you go? Yes, because we have multiple points that we could
Yeah.
go to. And then depending on the type of apocalypse, whether it's a zombie or a nuclear,
Uh-huh.
there are different places that I've always told my kids that we would head to in those situations.
Yeah, yeah. I've thought about it a couple of times. I'm just kind of like, man, what what am I gonna do?
Okay, but back to supervillains and their lairs. So to me, the number one supervillain lair, okay, and I'm going to swing this into here.
Okay. Let's see. Should we do a rating of 1 out of 10 of how defendable it is?
We can, yeah, because
Oh.
the number one to me is always Bob Hope's house.
Hmm.
Okay. If we look at it with the images on the hill, okay, this property here is to me just perfectly designed for more of a villain lair.
Yeah.
I can see this. I mean, you might have to drill down until you could get a volcano to come up through it or something, but being on top of the hill like that, it just, to me, it's perfect for it.
Let's see.
Well, what do you think about Bob Hope's house for a villain lair?
I kind of it has that tuck on the middle, right?
Which
Yeah,
one?
like the that right there.
Well, like this one or which one?
Oh, like it has a circle, like you can bring a helicopter in and
Well, you could,
out.
like this one right here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually an atrium. Now, I've never been to this house, but in all the pictures I've seen, it's pretty substantial. If a helicopter could fit there, it's gonna fit tight, but
That,
a small helicopter
hmm
could probably fit into that location. But even if it didn't, I mean, as you look over here, like over the right-hand side and stuff, it's got like a golf hole or three
Uh-huh.
up there. So I mean, it's got room to land a helicopter.
Yeah.
To me, one of the things that the Bob Hope House always missed for it is that you only have one entry point, which is coming down South Ridge Drive,
Mm.
okay, to come in. What it really needs is to have a road that's going to go off the back here
Yep.
into the hills. And
Uh-huh.
there are dirt roads and trails and stuff over there, but with that, it would be the perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Um,
I think on just like defendability and then also the fact that you kind of have again they put that road in the back. You kind of have every way out. Like it would be hard to block you in, especially if there's a helicopter in the middle. They could just fly out
Now, if a villain truly had this as their home, they probably designed an elevator shaft to go down
down.
into the our Araby neighborhood. There are houses like a couple
Mm.
100 yards down below,
Yeah.
so that they could do that. But to me, that's a number one. Now, you were talking about locations for it.
Yes, I was kind of thinking of there is an this is more of the side of Joker and the ones who just have the warehouses. It's in Palm Springs. It's an abandoned a mental health facility. It's almost like an abandoned town if you look at it because the facilities are pretty big.
Where's it at?
Ooh, let me see if I can figure it. It's in Palm Springs. I think it's closer to kind of the desert side of Palm Springs.
Okay.
Um,
You know, you make me think that honestly, the airplane museum or the Desert Sun
mm,
building, the Desert Sun building could actually be a villain's lair, but it would have to be hidden under the guise of a legitimate business, kind of like Luther Corp. Okay, is a legitimate business, but the Desert
mm,
Sun building is large enough and you can pull trucks in and out, right? Because they had delivery bays for the newspaper.
yeah,
And that there, and you've got a second story with a really grand staircase that goes up to it.
yeah.
So there's room for both personal quarters and
Uh-huh.
businesses in that there.
Hmm.
That I hadn't thought about, as more of a warehouse business operations, but probably the Desert Sun building
Yeah, you
would
wanna
be my choice there. I'm
try.
gonna pull up a different property
Okay, go ahead.
uh,
While I try to.
here because there's a property that's again in Southridge.
Uh-huh.
Okay, La Piedra, Palm Springs. See if I can pull up a look for it. Okay, so like this one here,
Mm.
as I look at this building for it, La Piedra is a home that I got to go through around 7 or 8 years ago. I'm not sure where this link is going to take us, but hopefully, okay.
Wow.
This home is built almost entirely out of rock, and in the living room, which is almost the size of like a junior high school gymnasium,
Mm-hmm.
okay, for it, it's got a single piece of rock that's about 3 or 4 stories
Mm.
tall that is incredible.
Uh-huh.
And I think they brought that rock in. I don't think it was like there when they did
Yeah.
this. I don't know how they got it there, but and then they've got huge panoramic windows,
Mm-hmm.
okay, around that there, but that gives you just an incredible backdrop
Uh-huh.
for anything that's going on in the
Yeah.
home. And then the entire home, as you can see in these pictures, it's all built out of natural rock, a lot of the rock from the area that was stacked and brought into there. So it's got that incredible billionaire kind of feel to
Mm.
it, for the home itself. To me, that could be another superhero lair.
Yeah, that is really cool. Speaking of homes, I did you did a video on the home. Remember I was telling you about that grapevine home?
The
with the
grapevine.
big. It has a big glass. It would be more of a superhero home, I think.
Okay.
It's kind of like they bought it and then I think the owners bought it and then they just kind of abandoned it and now it's kind of looks like it's being built up. But when you're driving by it, just big glass windows.
In from the front, big glass
Yeah,
window.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like a triangle like that. And it when you're driving up to from if I drive from your house to Grapevine through the
Yes.
neighborhood, it's right there.
I think I remember the home you're talking. There was a home that was in a bad state of reconstruction,
Uh-huh.
like somebody had begun
Yes. Yeah.
renovating the home and then
Hmm.
didn't finish it. And I did some tours of or video tours of that one there.
Uh-huh.
Might that be the home?
Yes. And I always thought maybe it's because it reminds me of the Incredibles house in the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh, if you're a superhero, it's a great house.
Well, and the back of the home was almost all glass,
Uh-huh.
looking out towards a very rundown backyard. Then beyond that was a really nice golf course.
Uh-huh.
So you had to get through all the mess of the house. But I'll tell you a little thing about that house. That house spooked me. It's
Uh-huh.
one of the places I've been. We could talk briefly as I'm saying this. I could think of two houses where I could talk about where I've
Mm.
really been spooked inside about something, but that was one. That house had a, a basement kind of to
Oh.
a like a one bedroom, but a large one bedroom with a separate living room and a separate kitchen and everything.
Huh.
Kind of like there had been a garage renovation like 50, 60 years
Uh-huh.
ago. And then it had run down because that home had a couple of different
Yeah.
extensions on it for it. And even the staircase going down to
Hmm.
that had been destroyed, and you kind of had to walk down an old dirt path that was inside in the living room
Oh.
to an
Wow.
underground part. And just when you got down there, I
Uh-huh.
don't know, the sound was not nice.
Mm.
And as I went to the second or the third room, I realized that if there was like some homeless guy living down
Yeah, you
there,
never know.
I'd yell
Yeah.
and nobody would hear me scream,
Mm.
you know.
Maybe it is a supervillain. Maybe it's a more supervillain than from the
Could be.
outside it looks a little like you could make it a hero, but
Right. So Bob Hope House, La Piedra are
hmm.
the ones. Now there is another home. All of these are ending up in Palm Springs. So let me go a different direction. And by the way, one home in Palm Springs was used as a supervillain
Uh-huh.
lair in one of the first James Bond movies.
Oh wow.
It's again on Southridge, and I'm forgetting it. A lot of black and white in the home, a very cool roof line. But in the James Bond film,
Hmm.
when Bond and the villain were fighting,
Hmm.
you could see Palm Springs in the background.
Oh, okay. That's very cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it was. Uh, I always thought that Kauai Hills in Palm Desert would be a
Mm.
great location
Yeah.
for a either a villain or a superhero. It
Uh-huh.
could be either way for that.
Yeah. That Palms I kind of think that if you go from South Palm Desert all the way up to the homes in 74, if you kind of want to be a little isolated.
You would, but I think it's too easy to track you.
Yeah, that's valid. That's true.
I mean, from Kauai Hills right now, there is just really one or two main roads going in or out.
Uh-huh.
So you'd have to develop like one or two dirt roads in
Hmm.
order to connect it up there, but then you might be able to hide your exact path home a little bit better.
That's true. That's
Whereas
true.
these days with satellites,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean,
villains have satellites.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then okay, one of the locations that I had in mind was the Cliff House.
The Cliff House in La Quinta.
Yeah, defendability and everyone would know you're there, but I think it just looks cool.
Yeah.
Like if you would just design it, we'll be like, yeah, I live on the side of a cliff.
Well, that is true. That there. The Cliff House is a cool location. It might be a villain with a restaurant. I mean, I'm thinking of
Mm.
the Penguin, but
Yeah, they won. They
the
won.
Penguin had a nightclub.
Yeah, yeah, it could be a nightclub and then the villain's just in the back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a desert character that would be comparable to the villain or to the Penguin. What are those lizards out here? Not monitor lizards, but
Mm.
Komodo dragon. No, but there is a tegu.
Mm.
Take him. It doesn't sound as mean enough
Yeah,
like the penguin, but maybe that character could be developed. If we could just get James Gunn at DC to embrace a desert villain.
Yeah,
Yes,
that'd be.
the Tegu.
I mean, I think that the two villains that would succeed the most in the desert would be Sandman,
Well, Sandman, sure.
Sandman, and then just Clayface.
Clay, oh, okay.
Because just a similar vein to Sandman. I'm like he could just literally just like lay in a pile of dirt.
Um, yeah, well, and you're right about Sandman. I mean, but now we've gone to Spider-Man, you know,
Yeah.
I
Because
mean,
I
unless you're talking Neil Gaiman's Sandman, but
no
I'm
no.
thinking the Sandman on Spider-Man.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of DC Sandman's like sand characters. I couldn't really. I feel like you're right. There's not many desert or like sand related villains, but when you get to Marvel, they got Sandman, and then there's another. I'm
Well,
thinking,
was Clayface a Batman villain?
yeah,
Okay.
which that movie's coming out in a couple months.
And who's the one that was in the first Batman?
Hmm.
I can't remember. He wore the hood over his face. It was like a burlap sack, and when he lifted up, you saw horrible because
Oh,
gas.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow.
Yeah,
Scarecrow could be a desert villain, but
yeah. Well, no,
I
no.
almost think of him as Nebraska. But,
Yeah, Lex Luthor would be in New York. Scarecrow would be Nebraska. Sandman would be Palm Desert.
okay, I was trying to think of we can go to Thousand Palms.
Hmm.
Okay, and I need a map. Okay, there is one location, and Xanth and I have talked about this here a number of times. Let's just pull this up. Okay, so like if you follow my cursor here as I'm going, that's Monterey going down, and then you cross over the bridge, and then you go back here to it. Now, as you come all the way back to the end here on the left-hand side, let's see what they say to it. Leak detector. Okay, maybe it is leak detector, but to me, this area right here could be an industrial villain lair. All of that together. And in particular, there is a home, I think it's right here.
Uh-huh.
And all of this other stuff does not show as easily when you're looking at it from the street level. The elevation is thrown off here a little bit, but you see all of this like sand thrown up in these areas.
Uh-huh.
Okay, which is like man-made construction, kind of like how with an anthill, when you see the anthill, there's so much earth pushed out around it. It's like, wow, those ants really moved and stuff. Well, me and Xanth always talked about how this location to us would be hiding a government military research center
Okay.
that probably has an elevator going straight down like 20 floors.
Yeah.
And then down there, they're working on some sort of time warp, multi-universe sort of situation with it. That there. And up top, all it looks like is a manufactured home.
Oh, I
So,
see.
so they would be hiding, you know, what they're really doing from the public.
Yeah.
That there. So that would be a location where the military, kind of like in Marvel, where you had the military that would be taking over and partnering up with the Avengers and stuff, they would be working from that location.
That would be cool. That's cool.
Okay, I'm going to divert the conversation just a little bit. And I guess before I do, there is one other location, but I'm not going to bring up a picture. It's another Palm Springs estate. It's called the Pond Estate. A gentleman named Bob Pond, who was incredibly wealthy, started off the Air Museum. And he has like, I don't know if it's 5 or 10 acres of a personal estate with multiple houses on it, huge circular driveways, all surrounded by a stone wall in South Palm Springs.
Wow.
Again, a little hard to get in and out, but when you got that much money, you could have tunnels and caves and stuff like that. And also being able to hide some of his aircraft at the Air Museum. He could have an underground lair there under the Palm Springs Airport that would only open up with secret bay doors and stuff when he wanted to. Not there, but for another location. So one of the things that I was going to bring up too, okay, villains that are realtors.
Okay.
Like, for instance, see if I can find my thing here. One that I had to find the research on DC actually has a villain that is a realtor. He's called the broker.
Very cool.
I did not know this before the last couple
Uh-huh.
days. Okay, but something called DC Fandom,
Uh-huh.
which is either a website for fans of
Yeah.
DC or it's a video game.
Mm.
Somehow out of those elements of
Mm-hmm.
DC, the
That
broker has evolved. And supposedly he has helped multiple Gotham City villains
Yeah.
to find locations for
Yeah.
their lair.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like to be the Coachella Valley
Just
villain. But imagine what your commission negotiations are going to be like that. I want 3%. No,
yeah.
you're working for free now.
The book. That's an interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You kind of always need to have someone. They can't just like
They can't always just take over a building, right?
exactly
And
with
kill it.
especially if it's supposed to be a secret.
Right, right. Like if you look here, it looks like he's in, whoops, what happened there?
Oh,
It
negotiations.
looks like he's in negotiations right here with somebody, and his real name is Sherman Fine.
Hmm.
So, I mean, he is a mild-mannered real estate agent by day and a supervillain real estate agent by night. There you go, getting some different looks there on the screen. So the other one is, and we'll make this our last topic here, and then we'll move on. Lex Luthor.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
You ever think how much real estate plays into Lex Luthor's motives?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Always. It's always just.
It's a major real estate deal.
Yep.
If you go back to like the 1978 or 1979 Superman movies with Christopher Reeves, Lex Luthor was going to take over part of the desert.
Yeah.
Okay. And somehow divert missiles to make the San Andreas Fault open up.
Yeah.
So the Gulf of California would rush in and all of his worthless desert real estate would become beachfront property. And that was the premise of the movie.
Yeah. And then the 2000s movie, it was he wanted to make
A whole continent.
a whole continent.
Right. And so somehow he got a crystal shard of Krypton and threw it into the ocean.
Yep.
And it started bubbling up and a whole new continent was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to remember Superman on that one. He was the great Superman. He was. It'll come to me in just a second. But yeah, every time Lex Luthor does something, it involves even the most recent Superman that was just on. Okay, he had to destroy not the Daily Planet, but the city where Superman, Metropolis. Okay,
Yeah.
where it was by dividing up like an earthquake fault line going into Metropolis, and he's figured out how to access some sort of split universe, pocket universe.
Pocket universe.
That's what they called it in there. Yeah, so he's just always real estate is a huge part of Lex Luthor.
You know what they say? Most millionaires are from real estate, and well, he's a billionaire.
That's true. I'm trying to think. In one episode of a comic book, Lex Luthor started buying up land around Smallville. Okay, so that he could take over farms and ruin their credits and their families.
Yeah, and in the show Smallville, and not Lex Luthor, but his dad, Lionel Luthor, literally his whole thing is he bought everything off Smallville.
Oh, yeah?
Every farm, he bought the plant, everything, and then just let it go, and then just closed it.
Yeah. And, well, in the last, was it Superman versus Batman, or was it the last, the Justice League? I think it was the Justice League, where the Kent family had lost their farm to the bank. And so Bruce Wayne's solution,
he bought the bank.
Bought the bank.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, so real estate plays an important part. Whether you're a superhero or a supervillain, the Coachella Valley would be a great place for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think ours, thinking of supervillains, I think ours would be a court of owls.
A quarter of what?
A court of owls. Have you ever heard of that? It's like a secret society.
A court of owls.
Yeah, they kind of make everything in Gotham that happens is like they oversee it.
I've got to learn that one. I'm not familiar with a court of owls.
Yeah, it's just there's just a secret society of like all the rich and people in Gotham, and they just oversee everything.
Interesting.
And I feel like that the Coachella Valley, I think all villain would be like that. It's just a secret society. It wouldn't be like a Lex Luthor who's out there.
You know, there have been secret societies out here that were
Mm.
not really that secret, right? Because if
Yeah.
I know about them, how secret can they be? But in Palm Springs, there was what was called the Gang of 12.
Uh-huh.
And up until maybe the 90s or about 2000s, it was basically a group of the wealthiest, oldest men in Palm Springs who would meet at the golf course in Palm Springs that's right in downtown. There's a small clubhouse that was their building,
Yeah.
and they would decide who was going to win for the mayor, who was going to win for the city council,
Oh,
any major projects that were going to go on. They
oh
always
wow.
had their fingers in everything Palm Springs.
Wow.
And then as the demographics in Palm Springs shifted in the 90s and the 2000s and they really aged out, they just didn't have the authority that they had had for like 80 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow. So yeah, court of owls.
that's it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much out
Mhm.
there for listening. We really appreciate your time and being a part of this. I hope you've enjoyed this also,
Yep.
Vincent.
Definitely.
And let's see, there we are. Okay, so
Have a
thank
good
you
day.
very much. We'll catch you next episode.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Oh, one last thing. Use Indian Wells Escrow.
Yes.